Howdy, folks. Welcome to the Patreon. Sorry I was absent last week. If you've been listening to the main feed, I got pretty sick, and I was just trying to get through the week. And today is the first day I actually went on a walk, and that really took it out of me. I went to the Oasis concert. That took it out of me. A walk took it out of me. So I'm slowly getting back to normal. So thank you for your patience. But this will be a Q&A for all the questions that we got over the weekend. How are you guys? Are you good? It's Monday night. Man, it felt like a Monday today. It felt like a Monday. And that is not complimentary. That is ugh. I did the Morally Corrupt podcast today with Rachel Lindsay, and that'll be out on Tuesday. And that's a Spotify podcast for The Ringer. And Rachel Lindsay's great. She was on the podcast a couple months ago, and I got to meet her, I think in January when I was doing the Sam Sanders show. And we were supposed to go into the studio, but she's really sick right now. She was going to urgent care after we finished recording. So I think there's something going around in LA. I think everybody I've talked to is some form of sick. But man, this one just really seemed to knock me on my butt, and then I'll feel good. And then I have a lot of drainage, but I was doing so good with my working out, and I didn't get to go to my trainer, Simon, who's awesome. And I'm just hoping to get back to normal. I was doing so good, and then that whatever that sickness was just really took it out of me. So, but we're here. We're going to have fun, maybe. We're going to talk about whatever you want to talk about. Now, we got to figure out what show we're going to cover on here, because a couple people, like I said, if you listen to the main feed, a couple people wanted me to recap the McBee dynasty from the beginning, and that could be fun. I don't know. There's a lot of things. I get very confused sometimes about what to cover, and I know you guys are great. You know, you're down for anything. But I'm trying to find the right thing. Tomorrow I'm going to be on Jeff Lewis Live with Taylor Armstrong. That should be interesting. I'm really curious to see how that goes. If Jeff makes fun of me in front of Taylor. So we'll see. And then next week we got the start of Real Housewives of Salt Lake City, which I'm so excited about. I have the pilot episode, and I was going to watch it this weekend. And then I went to that Oasis show, and that really took a lot of Saturday, and Rebecca's got whatever I got, and she's sick. So I was taking care of her, and I was making sure she had everything she needed. And then Sunday, I was really recovering, and I didn't drink. So my body was hungover from going to this concert on Saturday night, but I didn't watch it. And I think part of it also was I don't want to be disappointed. So I'm kind of like, I'm scared to watch it because I really am so excited to watch it. Does that make sense? That's how I really feel. There are a couple of questions that came in this afternoon. It was Sandra put together the list of the questions, but these came in afterwards. So we'll start there and then we'll go to the questions. Stacy Porter Brown. Hey, Stacy. Stacy says, you just talked about the creative Emmys on today's roundup. You must watch the documentary Patrice. Especially if you're a fan of Love on the Spectrum, it is a true testament to love and the unfair challenges people with disabilities face just to be in love and live together. It's amazing. Where can I find that? I'm going to write that down on my list. Watch Patrice. It sounds amazing. Rebecca does a lot of work with women in wheelchairs that have disabilities, and I'm a little privy to sometimes what they go through, and it's fascinating. And what's so fascinating is, the people that I have met, they live their life fuller than I do. They don't look at their life, or some of the people that I've met look at their life as a disadvantage. I mean, it's truly inspiring. I'm sitting here bitching about standing at a concert, and these people are out there, busting their alley. The things that I've seen these people do, it's really, really inspiring. So I'll have to check that out. I've never heard about that, but we were talking because she was referring to Monday's episode, Pop Culture Roundup, the Creative Arts Emmys. Love on the Spectrum took home a lot of awards, and I think that is so deserved. And I was very excited to see that. I think that's a no-brainer for me. It's just so damn good. Jamie Falby says, I'm probably too late to make the Q&A, but should I take the day off work on October 16th and see if I can get into Stephen McBee's federal court hearing? Yeah, Jamie. How? Wait, Jamie. I'll pitch in for lunch that day for you to go. I want if we could have boots on the ground of you at the federal court hearing, and I'll go you one better, Jamie. If you do this, you got to come on the show and just give me a quick 15-minute rundown of everything. So we talked on today's pop culture roundup too. Is that the sentencing for Stephen McBee Sr. was supposed to be last week or the week and a half ago, and they moved it to October 16th. And we did the story today is that the federal government made a lien trying to get three fancy watches. And one watch was like valued potentially at $1 million. And that's the stuff that kind of pisses you off. If you are taking money illegally from the federal government and then spending it on a $1 million watch, I said I want to get more information about this because I don't know how much. You just never know until you get all the facts. But on its face, you're like, oh shit, dude. If you're out there buying these like riches, it's like it's one thing to help your farm get out of debt and try to keep this thing going to keep it in the family name. But if you're out there living this baller lifestyle, but that's also why I find that show so fascinating is that obviously this Stephen McBee Sr. was living this baller lifestyle. I mean, all the kids have amazing homes. They had that place in Nashville. Stephen had that condo. Stephen Jr. had that condo in Kansas City, I believe. I mean, a lot, fancy trucks, fancy this, fancy that. And what's fascinating about that family is that you see pictures of them when they had nothing growing up. And so there is something amazing about building something. Like most of the books that I listen to, the nonfiction books, I really love stories about people building something. In fact, there was this book I saw that I was going to put on my list about the Barney's department store, about how it started. And I don't give a shit about Barney's, but I thought, oh, that probably is fascinating to find out how they built Barney's. Like how do you build a shopping destination? There's got to be a lot of hard work and grit that goes into anything. Even this tiny podcast, it's like building something. It is one of the most rewarding and punishing things that you can do in your life. Or even thinking about like you guys that have kids, like building something, building a family, building that to me, I realize is so, and that, I argue this in my own head all the time is because I love to consume content. I love it. I love to bitch about it, but I love to watch it, read it, listen to it. And sometimes you're like, oh God, I wish, I could spend the rest of my life doing this, but then it would be taking time away from actually building something, of doing something, of being able to put work into. Even tonight, I was really kind of exhausted after my walk. And I was like, I just want to sit here and watch a bunch of TV. I still haven't started The Hunting Wives. I got to start that. There's a bunch of shows that I got to start. And then I was like, no, I got to do this Patreon. And sometimes it's really that urge. You got to have that fire. And listen, I'm saying this half winking in regards to having the fire to podcast because, this is a pretty easy thing to do. But sometimes just, and you guys even might get sick of my voice, but think about how much I get sick of my voice. I try to explain this to people is that when I'm not podcasting, I really shut off. Like I'm not quiet around Rebecca, but I'm not this animated. I really conserve energy, and I'm not one of those people. You can ask anybody. I won't call you. I'll text, but I'm not even like my phone's on do not disturb now most of the time. And I kind of isolate in a weird way. And I think part of it is there's a lot of reasons I go over with my therapist, but I think part of it is just I know I have this outlet where I will babble. But sometimes to actually get up to babble again, you're just like, oh my God, I'm exhausted with the sound of my own voice. I don't know if you guys ever get like that in your own lives where you're like, where you tell yourself, just shut up, man. Just shut up. Okay, and here's one other that just came in. Linda Marie, our pal Linda Marie says, no pressure at all to share or to have answers, but I'm so curious to know what part of the wedding planning Rebecca is letting you have a say in, take charge of. That's a great question, Linda. Let me see if I can get Rebecca. Rebecca's not feeling well. What part is? Wait. You know what? Let me see. See, the wedding's not going to be for a hot minute. There's a lot of things happening right now, but I wonder if she would actually let us know what part. We're of two minds really about this. Is that there is one part of us that like, hey, let's go to a courthouse and then have like a gigantic party, or let's do I mean, there's a lot of different options that we're talking about, and I think the thing is also, I don't know. I mean, gosh, there's more I want to tell you about this. I can't tell you everything right now, but there's definitely, but gosh, it is funny though, because you want it to be whatever really she wants it to be. And I think also the thing is with wedding, I don't know, as you get older, it's just, I was trying to think like, I mean, do I invite all you guys? Do I do I do a live stream? Do I, you know, my life is so different than it was pre-pandemic, and I mean that as a lot of ways as a compliment. But it's so different, and it is so online. You know, like most of my life and her life, you know, she has all these amazing friends and stuff, and her mom lives in New York, and I have my dad. And there's as much joy in all of that there is. There's also a lot of sadness because you know I think about it brings up mom and I don't know. That's a tough question, Linda. I mean, it's it will be great whatever it is, and there's a lot of options on the table, but we are still looking. It's gonna be a minute unless we just decide to go crazy and just go to the courthouse. But I don't foresee that happening. And in I would say 100%. You know, I in so many ways we're married already. You know, like I really do feel that at this moment, and there is I gosh. I'm so flustered by this question, and I don't know why I'm flustered, but it makes me think about all the different lives I've led that has led me to this point and how different. I was talking to that Rachel Lindsay today, and I was talking to her producer before we started, and you know I was filling her in how the podcast started and stuff, and just to remind everybody is that this was never the plan. You know, I've been friends with Maritza even before the podcast started, and even when the podcast started, I didn't think I didn't think any of this would or could happen. And we're a mid-tier podcast, but I never thought we would even get to this point. So it's hard sometimes to dream beyond this. And I feel really lucky in the relationship that I have, but I sometimes have to remember to dream big and I don't know. I think it all ties it. Like even the wedding ties in with work, ties in with life, ties in with family, which I've been thinking about so much. I mean, I think I've thought about family pretty much nonstop since mom passed away. And, you know, I know Maritza is dealing with a death in her family. And I know Sandra, who I work with as well, is dealing with a death in her family. And those are so death. I love that I love that I made a question about marriage about death. No, but like I don't know, death is so prevalent in my mind over these last couple of years, and thinking about the rest of my life, whatever I get to have left of this, and what I want that to look like, and what I even want this podcast to look like, and how we grow, and especially being a non-organized person, which you know, unless I just have somebody glued to my hip, I don't know. Like, it's just hard. Okay, Linda, you really flustered me. I can't even I can't even finish this question. I can't even finish this question because now it's making me think about like 10 other things and my heart rate's starting to go. Linda, you killed me. Linda, how dare you with this questions? Linda, let me get back to you. Wait, was that Rebecca? Oh, I thought I heard her up. I was going to ask I was just going to point blank ask her, put her on the spot. Okay, let's get to some other questions here. We got Jen. Hi, Ryan. I'm curious about your favorite Bravo bloggers. She put that in quotation marks and then journalists in parentheses. I love Up and Adam, and he said a bunch of nice things about you the other day. It'd be fun to have him on your pod and talk about Bravo happenings. I'd seen you on his pod a long time ago and love the dynamic. I love Adam. Adam Newell, Up and Adam, he crushes it on YouTube. I know they have a podcast as well, but I think his primary thing he does. And you know what's so great about Adam is they push like about the way they make content. I'm so I was about to say prolific, but I'm just so long-winded. And he's able to do like a 4-minute TikTok video or something. I'm not good at that kind of stuff, but he is. And then he goes live on YouTube. He's built up such a loyal following. I always would love to talk to Adam. And Rebecca and I got to hang out with Adam and his husband when we were in Charleston for Sophie's wedding last year. We had a great night. And the thing is, I feel really horrible. Was that he reached out to me about like a month ago or something, and he's working with this company called Hello Prenup. And they wanted me to come on their, not Adam's podcast, but this Hello Prenup podcast, which is so funny because I'm engaged. I'm like, I haven't even thought about a prenup, but hey, man, I'll go on any podcast. I always try to say yes to everything. And then he invited me to this party in Palm Springs that happened on Labor Day. But the way in which he asked me, he was like, oh, would you like to do this? We can set you up with a hotel room and, there's going to be other people there. And I was like, oh, yeah, Rebecca and I might want to do that, like a free hotel room in Palm Springs. That sounds kind of nice. And then he asked me to do this podcast. And I got confused because the podcast, they asked me to do this certain day. And I had a couple of doctor's appointments. And I said, I can't do it on this day. And they said, what about October? I said, yeah, to October. I can do that. And so then I didn't think I was invited to the Labor Day party. And I get this text from him like the Thursday of that Labor Day weekend going, hey, are you on your way? And I was like, what? What are you talking about? I hate text messages like that where your ass drops out. You're like, what did I forget? And I was like, he was like, the Hello Prenup party and weekend with your hotel room. It's this weekend. I said, did I miss an email or something? And did I miss something? And they had never sent me an email. I was like, I didn't think that part was available to me anymore. I thought it was just the podcast, and I didn't get any sort of email with confirmation about anything. And he was like, well, can you come now? And it was like a Thursday afternoon in Palm Springs, like, it's like a 2-3 hour drive depending on traffic. And I was like, Rebecca's not up for it at this moment. I'm so sorry, man. I was like, maybe I can come by myself. And he was like, see if you can. But it was not in the cards. And what was funny, then I saw like Heather McDonald was there, and then I saw Brandi Glanville was there, and who else was there? It was Brandi Glanville and that Aubrey O'Day was there, and I was like, oh my God, because I was like, it would have been so uncomfortable with me, and it was like a pool party. Like, first off, I don't ever take my shirt off. I'm going to show up at a pool party and like, hey, and all of a sudden I'm having a conversation with Brandi Glanville. I shout out to all of those people, but I think I just would have been uncomfortable the entire time. I'm not good at that part of show business. But I felt so bad. But at the same time, they had never sent me any sort of confirmation email. I had and I was like, did I miss an email? He goes, oh, sorry, man. So I felt so bad. And I was hoping that Adam wasn't mad at me. So it was nice if he said some nice things. I love that guy so much. And him and his husband, they really are so good and so focused at building that business. I feel like with us, like I always joke about, we're like the Bad News Bears in a certain way. We're like the little engine that could, is that I think we really try our hardest and we get it done, but I'm not the best at promoting myself and pushing myself in certain ways. But I love Up and Adam. So to your initial question, I love Up and Adam. Who else? I mean, listen, there's been so much talk about Kiki Monique with the blogger journalist thing. And I've always liked Kiki. I still get confused, and this isn't like a slight towards her or anybody. I just get confused of like, are we really calling ourselves journalists, or is Kiki calling herself a journalist? Because I would never consider myself a journalist, because what I've always thought of journalism is writing something, of doing the research, doing the legwork, and writing something. And I don't, I'll do occasional TikTok videos, or I'll talk about it on my show. I'll say, hey, I read this TMZ article, and I will, or even last week, we did a whole episode on Unknown Number, the high school catfish story. And I did read the entire cut article, and I credited it and all that stuff. But we walked through that article together if you listen to that episode. And I thought it was fascinating, but by no means would I call myself a journalist because I read to you that article. And I get really confused about that. And I have the highest respect for journalists. And in this day and age, I think journalism is so important. But I think what we do, I think you can't get it twisted. In my opinion, it is not This stuff is not journalism, and we get it wrong more than we get it right. And I think we sometimes, myself included, confuse things to a degree. Like even today, I talked about Sheena not being on the Valley full time and Lala being on the Valley full time. And then I'm not allowed to tell you who, but I got a barrage of text messages saying that I was wrong. And this would be somebody that would know this situation and that whoever my source was wrong. And I thought, okay. And part of me felt really horrible for putting that information out there. But if you listen to today's episode, I said, take everything with a grain of salt. I always say, this is just what I heard. That's all I'm saying. So there is a difference. And I think in what we do with pop culture and Bravo, there is so many more rumors than there is fact. And I hate when I am part of the problem in any way. But if I hear something and it makes sense to me, I'm going to say it. But I also try to say it with that caveat of, listen, this could still be totally wrong, but this is what I hear. But I don't consider that journalism. And at the same time, I don't want to be Perez Hilton. I don't want to be. And I think the thing as I've got to really break myself of this TikTok habit, you guys. I'm wasting so much time on, and it would be different if I was making TikToks, but I'm just on it. I'm just scrolling videos, and it's not even Bravo videos. It's just insane, whatever the TikTok algorithm feeds me. But a lot of the times I'll get something and I'll read it and I'm like, you're just doing this. It's just clickbaity. And you're saying this under the banner of caring about somebody. Or you'll get that a lot of like, oh, I'm just worried about their mental health. If you're worried about their mental health, maybe the best thing is to keep your mouth quiet about the subject. But we don't do that because we so want to be a part of it. And I think one of my old acting teachers says, love the art in yourself, not yourself in the art. And that always, I think, is it's good for anything that we do in life, because I don't think it is just about art, but sometimes I feel like with what we do, whether it be podcasting or blogging or journaling, whatever, is that you want your name out there. It's not about the information. And it's not even about the uniqueness of you. You want to see yourself in lights. And that is not, by the way, and also that doesn't mean it's bad. It's just that I noticed something, and I more love the art in myself than myself in the art, if that makes sense. I grew up thinking all of this quirkiness and all of the things that I was attracted to in terms of what I consumed media-wise was weird. And then I found out later in life, too late in some ways, that I was like, well, this is actually, I should be proud of all of this stuff. And there's an audience that feels the same way, or actually, we're all sharing information about things to watch and things to listen to and things to read. And it's never been about, look at me, look at me. And I think if you are an actual listener of the show, I'm always self-deprecating. That's something I've just never been able to break since I was a kid. But I'm also one of the last people to shout myself out. Like, if it's a meme, it's something that I found silly in my own weird sense of humor. I try not to do just your average everyday, that's the thing. You'll be scrolling memes now and I'm like, God, anybody could have made that joke. And I know that sounds like, oh, bah humbug, but like that, I want something unique. Have you ever seen that account Drunk Drawn on Instagram that does the insane, amazing drawings, but like they're kind of gross, and it has like Teresa's big lips. It'll be a lot of Bravo celebrities or pop culture people. And I'm like, only that guy that does that can do that drawing. Oh, that comes specifically from that guy's mind. And nobody else could do that. And that's what I love, when it's something so unique to that person. And I think even as we chug along on this, I'm still trying to find out what my exact voice is, or trying to distill things to a certain way where I can be proud of something that I do. But those are the things that I'm most attracted for, and even in terms of bloggers, journalists. But that's, and also I respect hustle. I do not agree with a lot of like Zach Peters' opinions in terms of like his favorite housewives and stuff. And this isn't like tea, because me and Zach have joked about this in the past, but I respect that dude's hustle. That dude works hard. It's like I was talking about with Adam. Well, these are hard workers, man. And does something that I could never do. And it really fits who he is. And I don't agree with it, but I can appreciate that kind of hustle. So there's always something great about everybody. You just got to find what that is. But in terms of my favorite, I usually tend to go towards things that give me information. Like I'll always say, "Oh, I found this." It's usually from like, "Oh, I got one." Vanderpod recaps. I don't know if we consider that a blogger or a journalist, but it's one of my favorite Instagram accounts. And I believe they have a podcast called Recap Rodeo on her dat, if I'm not mistaken. But the two people that run that account, I think it's brilliant because they just transcribe certain aspects of a podcast or something out there. And for me, which is an information junkie, I love it. I love it because also it's not giving their take on it, but they're just, to me, that is a service that they do. Or I love Bravo Snarkside has a lot of information. I mean, Queens of Bravo has been doing it forever. And they always have like, I think they have some sort of partnership with Bravo and stuff. So they always get access to things really quickly. And, but I will say sometimes with a lot of these things, I used to pride myself on, I would beat a lot of these people by like 15 or 20 minutes on like a meme or information because I was always getting like push alerts from TMZ really quickly and I would just throw out something. And that was always kind of exciting to beat like some of the big people. But it's really the people that would give me information. So Bravo Snarkside, Face Reality 16 was another one that did some deep dives that I enjoyed in the past. I'm not on Instagram as much as I once was. I mean, that's where TikTok, I've really abused I'm telling you, I got to lock TikTok on my phone, but I'm not on Instagram nearly as much as I once was. And I just am not, I've talked about this on the pod. I wish I could get my sense of humor back. I mean, I feel like it's still there on the podcast most of the time, but in terms of thinking in memes and stuff, another thing, you guys, just to be honest with you, is I think it's since my mom died, I've gotten a little more sensitive. I've always been sensitive about myself, but sensitive about other people. I will pull punches a lot more on my Instagram because I'm like, that's a shitty thing to, I mean, listen, I love Blocked by Jax. She always makes me laugh, Jennifer, and she'll come on the show. She just came on the show like a couple weeks ago, but she'll make those posts that I used to make. And she'll still be very cutting, very snarky. And I don't know if I have that in me anymore. Because I just don't want to get a DM from one of these people going, "Oh, that really hurt," or "You suck." Like I just don't have the stomach for that as much as I once did. Like I always felt bad, but I remember you guys, if you've been with me long enough. I remember when I used to go really hard at Stassi, and I'm not saying it wasn't deserved. But I would go really hard on Stassi, and I remember she had gotten fired from the show, and then they announced their pregnancy, and they were holding a little baby thing, and I think I wrote on the baby tee of like, something about race, and all I got was this lousy baby shirt or something. It was something shitty. And I remember Bo, who Stassi's husband, I had been in acting class with, and Bo texted me about that, and I felt pretty bad about that, and also her assistant / friend Lo once texted me saying like, "Hey, you're really funny, you're nice, but like, these things really hurt." And it did make me think, but it's hard, you guys. I mean, I really, even right now, you can tell I'm arguing with myself as I'm speaking out loud because that's what, like the podcast, I don't want to change those things. That's why I always say, if you listen to the podcast, if you're a cast member, do not listen. This is our time. It's our time to be shitty. But once you get to know these people, it really undercuts a lot of those things that you say, because knowing somebody in real life as opposed to thinking of them as characters on shows, you're always going to be affected. You're going to think about it differently. If you know somebody in real life or if you've been around them, they all of a sudden become real in a way that, of course, we're watching reality, but there's the glass of the TV, there's a separation that sometimes we feel, I don't know if I would ever say all powerful, but we feel like we can say anything. And there is an aspect of that I like, that is a weird hobby of mine. But like, listen, I love like Laura and Carrie. I don't listen to their podcast, Sexy Unique Podcast, but I see a lot of clips, or Maritza will send me something because I know she's an avid listener of their show, and they're still they really are very cutting. But you also have to, like, I think I've talked about this with my therapist. I have to acknowledge who I am. And I'm highly sensitive. And I'm also, you got to pick your battles. Yeah. Anyways, so it's really, Jen, it's really the people that give me information are the ones that I geek out on. And I don't mean information like they're tracking down these facts, but they're alerting me to an article or they're alerting me to something, a cast change. I'm more of an information junkie. But if I can hear, and then in terms of humor, if they have a unique voice. But I will say, there's a couple of accounts, and I don't want to drop their names or something, where I'm just like, oh, gee, like sometimes they're just mean for the sake of being mean, and there's nothing funny or artistic about it. Where I'm just like, oh, really? You need to go this hard? You need to go this hard? Is it worth it? And sometimes to me, those are like, I don't know. I think a lot about this. I don't know. What are your favorite? This is actually an interesting question for all you guys. What are your favorite accounts that you go to for information? And I used to be so much more up on this than I am now. And on TikTok, it's really different. They have that Josh the Roni Stan who I really like. He's always posting TikToks. You have Kate Riccio, who I enjoy watching her TikToks. And there's always information. They're always pushing out content. But even that, those are unique voices. But I will say there's not copycats directly of them. But I just see so many accounts posting the same information. And I will stop if I see something like a piece of information, I'm about to make a meme and I already see it out there. I won't put it out there. But a lot of people don't care. They'll continue to put it out there because they want to get their likes. They want to get their clicks, and to each their own, right? But I will say also, it's just the journalism. I want to shy away from calling us journalists of any sort because I feel like we get it wrong more than we get it right. And I feel like that would be irresponsible if we then called ourselves journalists. And a lot of these, what I notice on TikTok or something, you try to get them in with like Jack said the most disgusting thing ever. And then they'll get into the story and it's like, Jack said shit at a grocery store. You're like, oh, well, that's not as brutal as like the title of this actual video, but you had me locked in and then it turned out to be disappointing. You see that clickbaity shit all the time. In fact, Facebook, somebody on the Facebook group said there was like some Vanderpump Rules group that I noticed. Sometimes I'll see on Facebook when I'm wishing people happy birthdays. And it always is like the fakest information that is complete bullshit, like just complete bullshit. And they just put it out there and then it really confuses people. And that shit upsets me because then there are people that aren't even getting it wrong on accident. They're getting it wrong on purpose. And then they're spreading things around and I will get like, even Rebecca will get fooled about this shit. And she's not the biggest like Bravo fan, but she'll be like, oh my God, did you see this? And I'll be like, oh babe, you needed to click this. And it's like totally not true. Like if you just did like a second worth of digging, but you just see that really sensational headline and you just go with that because we are trained for insanity. We are trained for rage bait. We are trained for that. And our brains like little neurons fire and we're like, oh shit, that's crazy. And then we won't kind of do any searching because why, if you see a headline on something, and that's why Facebook in terms of like content moderation, and they took even more of the moderation off. Thanks, Zuckerberg. It's a shit show. Like Facebook, you can like just go on there just like randomly and just see things that will turn your hair white. I hope I'm not the only one that thinks that. Anyways, Jen, please, if you guys are listening to this and you have a thought, put it in the comments of what your favorite accounts are or what type of journalism bloggers that you like, right? Okay, Gene Wilson. What up, Gene? Do you think the rumors are true that Real Housewives of Orange County, that Tamara is trying to get rid of the whole cast except for Katie and Heather and wants Alexis to join full time? So this is interesting. I do think she would love that. But Tamara was on Jeff Lewis, was it last week or the week before? And I was listening to that episode and it was very funny because Jeff was like, well, who do you want to stay? And she didn't want Shannon. She wanted Vicky. And it was like, she really was putting out the people that she wants there. And I if you've listened to my OC recap, whether you like Tamara or not is at this point inconsequential because she's very powerful on that show. She's very powerful. And she does, I think, have a lot of say in a way. And so she is out there. It feels like a campaign with some of these housewives in the off season where they're out there saying, this is what I want. This is who would be great. And I think yes, but if I was a producer and Tamara's out there saying that, I don't want to give Tamara everything she wants because where's the conflict in that? If she doesn't want Shannon in there, I want to keep Shannon because I want Tamara to be upset about something, or I want Shannon to be upset that Tamara's there. I want natural conflict. So if you tell me you absolutely don't want that person there, then I want that person there. To me, that's like 101. I don't know what you guys think about that, but I think it would be, I do not want Alexis Bellino back. And I don't want John Jansen to have any sort of platform. I just don't. That's a personal feeling. And you guys might feel differently. And my personal feelings a lot of the times don't come true. So who knows? Maybe she will come back. Hey, listen, Alexis Bellino has the same manager as Galena from the McPhee dynasty. And that's why Galena is like at all of these events for Alexis's weddings. And I think they have formed a friendship. But man, is there a world in which Galena comes to Real Housewives of Orange County? Who knows? I am Galena, Russian whore, prostitute. I think Katie has really done a great job in the offseason of, at the end of the day, a lot of people love Katie now, but still, at the end of the day, Katie's a liar. Luckily, she's on a cast with a lot of other liars, but Katie is so sloppy and messy with her lies, and she's involved a lot of us journalists, and that to me is such a rookie mistake, is that don't talk to us. Like, give us a little heart, say thank you for this post, but don't give us information. Don't. There's too many of us that want to be in the spotlight, and don't give us that inch. You're a housewife. That's what I always say. It's like Housewives at one point was glamorous. They were like, wow, these were like housewives. That's something to be said. And you don't want to think about their lives as miserable. And then they're actually just in the comment section. I'm like, this is how you spend your time talking to us? You should be out there living a fabulous life as a housewife. My God, not in the DMs. That's our jungle. That's not your jungle. What are you doing? But Lisa Rinna did this all the time too. Lisa Rinna interacted with a lot of fans and gave a lot of fans information. She'll never admit this, and that's why it's so funny. I was watching that Lifetime movie called Mommy Meanest, based on the Unknown Number catfish story. Horrible Lifetime movie. And Lifetime movies are already pretty janky, but it was pretty bad. And I thought it was so funny because it was about cyberbullying. And I was like, wasn't Lisa accused of cyberbullying Garcelle and her son? And like, remember that whole storyline with the bots? I still think Lisa I think Lisa got too lost in the sauce by the end. And it was great to have that break from Lisa. And like I said, I'm very excited to see her back on The Traitors. I think that's a great use of Lisa Rinna. Somebody pointed out to me that Lisa Rinna has a book coming out in 2026. And I think the title was something like, I'm going to talk about, of course I'm going to talk about it, or one of her bullshit sayings. But Tamara can go out there and do a press tour of who she wants. It still doesn't mean, she's going to get it. But yeah, I think that she would want all of those people. I think Heather at this point, besides having a lot of money, is rather ineffective as a housewife. I've just never seen the full appeal, because at some point you got to get your hands dirty, Heather. You got to get your hands dirty. You got to get in there. And I hope the rest of the season we see Heather get in there a little bit. And I just don't think, like I said on the recap, there's enough skin in the game for her. I don't think, if your life is pretty okay, why do you really give a shit if Tamara and Shannon are talking? Why? It's like, it just then reads like a job to me of like, I got to sit here, I got to drink my champagne, I got to be fancy pants. And then I go home and I'm pretty good. And I'm a great mother. What's in it for her? Like Tamara, there always feels like a desperation, or Shannon always seems like she has PTSD and she's rattled. Those are interesting character archetypes. And you could say Heather's like that middle ground, but is she the middle ground? I feel like she's coasting a lot of the times. Kelly Eames says, I hope you're feeling better. Thank you, Kelly. Question about the OC. So Sandra bunched these in topics, you guys. Sandra was nice enough to do that. With Tamara now buddying up to Katie Janela, do you think Katie will be back next season? It's such a tangled web, but I have to admit, I like Katie way more than anyone else currently. Again, feel better, and I hope you have been resting. I did not rest nearly enough. I really pushed myself last week when I shouldn't have, but whatever. Yes, I like Katie as well. That's the thing. I'm so disappointed in the way Katie has moved. But luckily enough, I don't think the majority of the audience really gives a shit or is focused in the way that I've been focused, or some of us that go pretty hard on this stuff. I like her. I think Matt, it was so funny him complaining about Slade, because I'm like, Matt, you're a little Slade Jr. right now. You're getting really involved. And I always want to know, I mean, yeah, I think Katie will be back next season. I do. I think it's looking very good for her. I think another thing is going to depend on reunion performance. Remember, they don't hire people for the next season until a couple weeks after the reunion airs. Um, so I think it's gonna be a lot with that reunion performance, and I think Katie could have done a little better at her first reunion. So it'll be interesting to hear her at her second. And I'm hoping more information comes out for the rest of this season and the reunion, where it'll really clear things up in the viewers' minds about what happened, because it is still very confusing and there really is no referee. Now, the producers really have a good sense of what happened. So sometimes I wish one of the producers would come and do a talk back and go, this is what we knew. This is what happened. This is how we feel about it, because they do have feelings about these things. And sometimes you'll see it in the edit, and they've given her a pretty decent edit for as much stuff as I've heard about her. And it'll be interesting. But yeah, I wouldn't mind Katie back, but I think we have to establish some ground rules. I mean, even in those ground rules, like, I don't think Tamara should be doing like two teas in a pod. I mean, that to me gives her such an unfair advantage if we're to treat this like a game. And I feel like Tamara treats Housewives like a game. How is she not going to know all of the ins and outs when she talks about Housewives for a living? That just is an advantage. She's constantly thinking about this. That's somebody that is training all the time in the off season. And I know that's funny to talk about training, but I really consider it training, right? Tara, what up, Tara? Why do you think Gretchen is protecting Tamara if she did in fact go to the hospital? Why not blast her unless maybe she signed an NDA with Bravo ahead of the season? That's a great question. Because listen, if we're talking about Naked Wasted from season 4 of OC, right? Season 4? Season 4 or 5, right? I think it's season 4. I wrote this the other day. There's liability. If she thought she was roofied, they filmed that thing, So maybe there's a thing where that makes production look bad. Who knows? I don't think she would blast Tamara. And remember, Gretchen is a friend of. Gretchen, even though she would not say, yes, I want to be a full-time, she wants to be a full-time. I mean, she wants this. This is real money. This is a real job. You're able to get real opportunities from all of this stuff. So I think that would place us in a whole other, I think that would be a bridge too far with Tamara. And something else happens with Tamara and Gretchen, and I'm not sure exactly what it is. I have heard that, I said this on Monday's Pop Culture Roundup, that it could be something in regards to Gretchen's post about anti-LGBTQ and anti-trans. And remember, Heather Dubrow, LGBTQ friendly, trans son. These are real issues. And I would wonder what Heather feels about this if Gretchen's out there posting what I believe to be at the time nonsense, And I don't know. We are in such a weird place in society right now for so many ways. And it's not even just, it's just that we're all, myself included, we're all in just everybody's business all the time. And I realize that's so funny. I'm sitting here talking about other women's business. I can sometimes convince myself that it's okay because they all get paid for it, and this is kind of the game, and part of us talking about it is what these shows need to be successful. But sometimes I just wish I wasn't so aware of people's innermost thoughts and feelings. Like Gretchen, if she was anti all of this stuff that I believe in, especially LGBTQ rights, I think sometimes I would feel better if I just didn't know about it. If she just went away and went to her church and prayed with her husband. But when you have a certain audience and you're blasting that stuff, all of these images, all of these thoughts, we're just inundated with it all the time. And it really affects us. And I think, that's why sometimes I feel angry about things. And I don't know if you guys feel angry just scrolling on social media. For me, it's changed a lot, and maybe that's just me getting older, and I hope I'm not alone in feeling some of these things. But sometimes I just wish I didn't know, and that's, you don't want to hide away from the world, right? You want to be able to say what you feel and stand up for things that are right. But sometimes it can just be overwhelming, the amount, it's like, what 100 things do we need to be mad about today? And then what 100 things we need to be mad about in pop culture. It's really, sometimes it's terrifying to me. Yeah, I don't know if Gretchen is necessarily protecting Tamara. I think in a sense she might be protecting herself. So she has no problem at, like even like buddying up with Tamara at the end of this episode and forgiving each other. And, that's good for Gretchen overall to stay on the show. If she's just full tilt boogie at blasting Tamara, she might burn out. Like Alexis Bellino burned out last season. She was going hard on Shannon because of Johnny J, and she burned herself out, and she burned the audience out. And so I think, you got to downshift so you can then go push harder towards the end. So I think in a sense that it's not protecting Tamara. I think she's in a sense protecting herself. And I think there's like a pacing issue. But I think also Gretchen might have just been talking shit to a bunch of friends at that steak dinner. I don't know if Gretchen, I think Gretchen definitely did say these things. And I think she got caught up in something that she did not think was going to get brought up. But the whole thing is messy. The fact that Kiki brought it up then to two reporters is messy. The two reporters bringing it up to Tamara, that's messy. It's all messy. That's why I'm like, is there journalism? Is there any kind of ethics? Why are we telling all of this information? It just then becomes like a big sewing circle. That's the part that I keep getting tripped up on in terms of, the whole blogger storyline. So Tara, but I think we'll learn more. And at this point, we'll see. But Gretchen, it looks like pretty good odds that she'll come back next season. In fact, somebody sent me, or maybe it was in the Facebook group that Shannon now follows Katie Janela. That Emily doesn't follow Gretchen anymore, but Gina follows Gretchen. Like, these moves are really important in the off season to kind of pay attention to. It's very interesting. Okay, now Jude, what up, Jude? Why did Slade call Matt all those times once for 43 minutes? According to Matt, it's not just to shoot the shit, which suggests it's about damage control related to the naked wasted roofie comment. Exactly, Jude. You answered your own question. That's it exactly. Matt even said, we're not just fucking buddying up. Like, that was like damage control. It does really appear, or the show makes it appear, and I have not a hard time believing this, that Slade does get obsessive about these opportunities and about Orange County. In some ways, you can paint this as the revenge of Slade. Like there is this funny history with Slade and this show, and with Tamara and Slade. So, yeah, man. Well, it's just so funny, too, is that I know some amazing Christians. I really do. I know some amazing Christians in my life. But I always get tickled when we have Christians that seem like they go to dinners and they just talk mad shit about other people. Like, it's one thing if you don't like somebody, but to talk mad shit, like, to me, that is not very Christian. I was raised Catholic, and, it's like there is a lot of shit talking for Christians, like there's a lot of shit talking. And I always think that always makes me giggle a little bit. It's like a 43-minute call where it's like, I think Matt was right. I think there was this plan in place, and don't say it, hold the line. But I think that all falls apart then of like Katie still saying that she didn't tell Kiki Monique about this. I do not think it goes further. I don't think this was like a Sheena Kiki team up with Gretchen. Like, it's just, now we're getting too spider's web. It's too thought out, and these shows move too fast. I don't know. I will say just people sometimes get too lost in the sauce, and people love shit talking. People love rumors. People get real. Then a show just turns into a gigantic Reddit thread. And we want facts. We want to know the truth. And, if Matt, hopefully, and remember, if we saw the text message and it was all blurred out, remember that? And Katie said in somebody's comment that eventually we will see those unblurred Slade text messages. So the production is teasing us a little bit. So we will eventually see those unblurred. So I'm really curious to see that. But if Matt is saying this, then as a producer, even though this is not a show about men, I want to see Matt and Slade have a conversation. I want that on camera. Like, let's do it. I want to see that. And also then at the reunion, even though we're a little tired of the Kiki Monique storyline, I want Kiki to come out and face Katie Janela. I want it face to face. I want to see people lie to each other's face, or having somebody go, I'm so sorry. I was just in a spot. I told a fib. I'm sorry. Like, I want those moments because we all want to be able to judge with our own eyes. But some of these people are professional liars, you guys. Christina Byington. What up, Christina? Christina sent me this great book, which I just started, called Shadow of the Bridge. The Delphi Murders and the Dark Side of the American Heartland, which her buddies wrote, and it's really good so far, and I'm really curious to see. I mean, it's a really harrowing story, but Christina always gives me the hookup on books and tells me what to be checking out, and there's so much good stuff out there. Anyways, Christina says, is it wrong that I'm fully Team Tamra now? Gretchen is lying her ass off, and even Shannon has lost some of her luster. Listen, you're not wrong to be any team. I think what's great about these shows is that we all have this personal opinion, right? And I always used to joke, but at the end of the day, my opinion is right. Yeah. Listen, I am not fully Team Tamra, but Tamra has had such a strong showing in terms of being able to survive things that other housewives would never be able to survive. If you used to bag and still bag on Shannon getting drunk, and then you got drunk and took a Xanax and quit the show, and somehow she's managed to finagle out of that where nobody's even giving her a side-eye glance, like, that's pretty fucking genius. That's good work. Even if you hate Tamra, that is, like, I was just joking. I was like, that's why I think Tamra practices witchcraft. Like, there is, how did that happen? No other housewife could do that. Good on you, Tamra. I mean, it really is impressive. But sometimes but anyways, Gretchen is lying her ass off. But Gretchen, nobody is, I don't think, 100% evil. Well, I can actually think of a couple people, but Gretchen, I think, is useful in that she points out Tamra's playbook a lot of the times. And I find that interesting. But yeah, I think Gretchen is lying her ass off. I think Tamra's lied her ass off in the past. But yeah, I mean, I don't think it's gotten to the point for me where I'm like team anything. Like, I'm team who gives a fuck sometimes. I'm team like I got to go to bed. But Shannon lost some of her luster. I talk about this with Rachel Lindsay tomorrow on her show, was that I think Shannon had such an insane season last season that I'm okay with Shannon hanging back this season. And even her hanging back, you realize, even her mumbling of like, that's what Tamra kissed and tried to make up with me seasons. Like, it's like Shannon kind of realizing these things, and like like Shannon really feels like she lives that experience. So I think she's lost some of her luster because she's not a main storyline. Shannon gave us something to root for last season, even in the midst of a horrific thing and a choice she made about drinking and driving. And we still found a way to root for her because the show went so hard at her. It's like the Katie effect in a certain way. Like, everybody's going so hard on Katie that it's like managed to like have people go, I really like Katie. Last season, everybody was coming so hard on Shannon that you got to the point where you're like, dude, I'm rooting for that girl, man. I'm rooting for Shannon. And so this season, there's not a lot there with Shannon to be championing, but I think that's okay. Like, I don't want her off the show. Like, I think she's useful. Let her hang back. Let all these other goofballs stand up. And like, I want Heather Dubrow. What do you got? Shannon's done a lot of things on this show. But yeah, between Tamra and Gretchen, I would go Tamra 6 out of 7 days. So you are not wrong. You are messed up, though, Christina. I will say that, because you always say that you don't like Beyonce. So that is messed. So I will say you are wrong in that account. You also said, I just remembered that Tamra is friends with Jesus Jugs. Never mind. Okay, so Christina realized, yeah, she is friends with Jesus Jugs. She is friends. Like, Tamra is wild. Tamra was at the bridal shower, right, for Jesus Jugs, Miss Alexis Bellino. And yeah, I just... I think at this point, if Tamra is not wounded in some way, it really is her show. I don't mean that, they'll listen to her in casting, but it will be interesting to see next season. But how much left do you got in you? Like, what else do you got? And listen, think about it. Tamra has so many little points of weaknesses that you could attack her on. They try to get with her, like, attack her on her daughter with the Facebook post. They really still haven't touched Ryan, who has there's been a long history with Ryan, even with the Naked Wasted episode, but with the gun charges. There's so many things with her son. And her son used to appear on the show and thank God does not any longer. I always made that joke. Who was I telling this to the other day? I used to say this all the time of like, remember that one season where Ryan's hair didn't even want to hang out with him because all of a sudden he just lost all his hair? Like, and then he like moved to a ranch because he saw Yellowstone once. He's like, I'm a cowboy now. But we don't really bring Ryan on the show anymore. And I think that's a favor to Tamra in a sense, because we don't want to be reminded of that. That is a potential point of weakness. If you were looking to attack Tamara, you would try to find a way to bring, they bring her daughter up, but I'm like, why does the son have a hands off? There's a lot of things that you would attack Tamara on, but she's just so good and so adept at maneuvering through them. It's almost like that bullet time sequence in Matrix where like it slows down. It's like a 360 camera move, and Neo's just like dodging all the bullets. Like that's Tamara to me. She's just like, woo, 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 woo. She dodges everything. And so I will say, like, I don't find her necessarily super entertaining on this show, but I really admire how she's able to get through all of this. Like I'm starting to. Oh God, I hate to say this. I'm starting to become like an undercover Tamra fan. Like I hate. Like it gives me the cool. I just want her to be nicer to Shannon. I get. You know what? You know what it is. I said this. But Shannon reminds me a lot of my mom. Not in terms of like the drunk thing, or even though I would have loved to see those two ladies share a glass or a tub of wine, but there's something that like I don't know. Like I think it's there is, or maybe also I see a lot of not a lot of, I see a little of myself in Shannon or in that thing of, when you're like, oh man, I root for myself. I hope I can get past my own insecurities and get to where I need to go. And I hope the same for Shannon, that she can get through her own securities and realize that she's a beautiful older woman, that she, the world could be her oyster if she wanted it to be. And sometimes I think we just get in our own way. And I'm putting a lot of things on Shannon that might not even be valid. But there is that thing that you root for those people. And Shannon's one of those for me. Okay. Becky, what up, Becky? Regarding the Kiki Monique required. Yeah, you got to say Kiki Monique. You can't just say Kiki. Kiki Monique. I still want to know if the producers told them to say first and last name, because I was like, it is fun to say Kiki Monique, but did they make them say Kiki Monique? Because it was just the pattern of them saying both first and last name. And like I said a couple weeks ago, it is really solid advertising, even though I've seen a lot of, I've seen a lot of people say a lot of nasty things about Kiki online. I don't go searching these things out. I'm not a Reddit user. People will send me Reddit threads, not about this, but I'll see things on TikTok, and I feel bad for Kiki, but I sometimes think, I was talking about this on Monday's episode too, is that sometimes to get to where you think you need to go, you'll say, well, this couldn't hurt if I do this. This is good overall for my visibility. And no matter how much hate is thrown at her, it probably is good for her visibility. The hardcore fans might be a little disappointed or go, oh, I didn't really think, but at the end of the day, that's not going to matter. It's like Janet on the Valley, is that most people will not watch the show, but they'll be like, oh, you're a star of the Valley? Great. We want you to do this product. Like, they won't realize that she's a villain, and she'll still get money, and, she'll still be successful in that way, if that makes sense. But I saw a lot, and I kind of felt a little bad. And that's also one of those things where I think sometimes it holds me back from pushing myself out there. Or even today with that Sheena rumor, I was getting text messages from a couple people that I was not loving getting text messages from. And I was like, is it worth it? Is it worth it to talk about any of these goofballs? Like, you're always going to upset somebody. It's not, I think this is obvious. It's not fun to read bad things about yourself. Oh my God. It was so funny. I had just put the podcast to bed last night, tucked the podcast in, I released it, right? And on Spotify, you can leave comments. And there was immediately we got a comment. And I don't check comments, but on Spotify, they have this creators app, and it will give you alerts sometimes. And I got an alert. I was like, wow, I just put out the episode about a half hour ago. I already got a comment. That's pretty good. Like, I don't really read a lot of comments. It depends on what mood I'm in, because once I see something bad, I'll regret going. And that usually enforces don't look at a bunch of comments. And this comment, it was from a user named McCall. Maybe you're in here, McCall. Who knows? And what was it was so great. It's great when I'm talking to you guys because we can laugh. I think I was just screenshotted it because I was like, oh my God. Let me find this. I had to have, come on, Ryan. You had to screenshot your hate. Oh, yeah, here he goes. Here he goes. Here we go. This is great. I like that they don't care about getting close to fans or giving people their money's worth. They're just rock stars. LOL. You and Sophie sound so fucking dumb per usual. I think this was in regards to Oasis, because I said that I liked that they didn't have that middle part of the stage where you'll see a lot of like Taylor Swift or something. They'll come out to be closer to the fans. First off, McCall, fuck off. Second off, McCall, what I meant by that is that these are just rock and roll feet. Like, like they don't give a shit. And I think that is something it's refreshing to see. And yes, I get that point of obviously the people that do that middle thing, like Beyonce, they want to give everything. But Oasis, these two bloke brothers that were all about anarchy in a sense, they didn't. And I like that. It was refreshing. It was very true to them. But I like this. LOL, you and Sophie sound so fucking dumb per usual. First off, I do agree with that. I do think that we sound dumb a lot because it's two friends shooting the shit. It's two friends, and it's my episode a week where I get to be really stupid, really silly. I get to do that with the recaps too, but other times we'll do really serious interviews. So I like that. But I also love that this McCall person listens. And, in my head, I'm like, well, hopefully this was the final straw for McCall and they will never listen again because it obviously seems to upset their personal peace. But I found usually those are the people that listen to you more. And sometimes that will scare the shit out of you folks. It will scare the shit out of you. But I will say also to McCall's point, but anyways, that was such a bummer comment to get last night. I was like, what? And I just had worked all night. I didn't feel good. And I was like, and sometimes when you just see something negative right before bed, I can't help but obsess about it. And also that's probably what they want to. They want to hurt you. They want to sting and, and it does. So kudos. But yeah, it sucks to read bad things about yourself. And then, what was I going to say? Sorry, you guys, these Patreons are really loose. So I hope that it's okay that I'm just kind of stumbling and fumbling. You guys are used to that, right? What was it? Let me pause this. I don't know. I think I forgot the second part of what I was going to say, but I don't know. It's just so interesting to think about somebody listening or participating in something that you've done and then writing something out that is directly negative. I don't know. It's very interesting. I don't know. Anyways, Becky, sorry, you had the rest of your statement that I never read. Did she have to give permission approval for them to say her name on camera? As in, if she didn't want to be involved in the whole drama, she could have kept her name out of it if she wanted to. She agreed to film, so I assume she wanted to be involved. Just wanted to check because based on her story, she's acting like this was put on her or something and saying she needed to defend her reputation. But if she hadn't agreed to be involved, no one would know it was her. No harm done. I'm just confused. You either want to be involved with the drama or not and act accordingly, right? I could be wrong, so wanted to ask. Becky, this is a great question, and I wish I had a very specific answer, and I wish I had asked her this when she was on Jeff with me a couple weeks ago. But I don't believe, well, see, and it's weird because the Bravo babe, they blurred her name out earlier in the season because that was another person that was interacting with Katie, and they blurred her name out. They never fully said it, I believe, on the show. And Up and Adam last year on Salt Lake City with Whitney, they had his voice, but they didn't fully get involved, which, by the way, I said this on one of I saw Whitney and Adam really have words at Kathy Hilton's holiday party. And I was like, wow, I'm watching an episode of Salt Lake right now. This is amazing. I do believe there has to be some sort of approval. And obviously, I think I want to know how this got to production. Did Tamara bring it to production? And then obviously she did have to sign off on it. And obviously, but the reputation thing, that's the part that I still go back and forth on in my head, and knowing Kiki a little bit and really believing in her and her talent. I still you watched enough Housewives. I had this little paranoid delusion earlier today when I was talking about that Sheena thing that I told you guys earlier, and I was getting texts from some people, and I was like, my God, I got really scared for a second. I was like, I don't want this to be a storyline on the show about a storyline about how many episodes Sheena got on the Valley. And by the way, I think you can be rest assured that I would never agree to do that. Because, but by the way, that's not any, I'm not saying Kiki is wrong in her decision in agreeing to do this. I just know that I would not be able to put up with the comments or even just comments about how I look. I'm just way, way too sensitive for that shit. And I am curious. I do have like a whole new list of questions for Kiki because I want to know, who did you go to for advice if you should do it? Was Sheena one of the people? Was Sheena like, you got to do it? It'll be great. It'll be good for the radio show. It'll be good for you. You know, you always got to weigh the pros and cons. And when you're dealing in the Bravo fandom, there is always pros and cons. It's never just pro. But I've seen a lot of things of like Kiki being such a disappointment now and da 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 da. And, you know, those things even hurt for me to read because I just, I don't know. But I do imagine I'm just, I don't know. I don't think she's putting on an act that this was put on her, but I do think she had to agree to do this. I think she was not forced into doing this. And I do wonder, I'm going to wonder in 3 months if she still is gung ho on this or she regrets it. But in all, you know, I think I mean, she has that Radio Andy show. She has Reality Checked with Dorinda. And I think she's going to host a panel at BravoCon. And so she's getting a lot of great opportunities, man. And, but I think I just don't think I could do that. I wouldn't want to be involved in that way. And sometimes that's why, even if, you know, like I brought up the Bravo and Cocktails item that I saw today in regards to Teresa maybe going over to Miami. And I think Bravo and Cocktails, if I'm not mistaken, they're really smart, is that I don't think I even know what Bravo and Cocktails looks like. I don't care to. Like, even with Demois, I always said this. I liked that she hid her identity. Like, you can find out who Demois is. Like, I know who it is, but I like that I mean, listen, I'm a person that loves Batman. I love hidden identities. Like, I think there is something great to being able to protect that kind of personal peace in a sense, or to kind of hide behind a certain thing. I think there's a lot of freedom in that sometimes. It can also bite you in the ass a great deal. But I don't know. I think there maybe is a world, and I'm completely speculating here, that she wanted both, you know, is that she didn't want to be in the mess, but at the same time, she's trying to build a career. She's trying to listen. She watched Housewives like all of us, and then she managed to be on the show. There is something, you know, I used to think it was so funny when I was an extra on Vanderpump Rules. Now that was the level that I could do it at. That was like just being there because it was kitschy to me. It was funny. It was like funny in that moment, being able to observe how it's put together. And there was no harm, no foul, because it was just like somebody would be like, oh, I saw you in this episode saying like good food or something in one of the Vanderpump Rules episodes. Yeah, that's me. But there was nothing else. I didn't have to worry about anything else. I didn't have to worry about information. But Becky, I wish I could answer more specifically, but I'm a little confused about it too. And I think the show is obviously moving on at this point, but I think a lot of the fans are still curious. Something is hinky. It's hinky from all sides because Katie, I think, is lying her pants off. I think she did talk about this with with Kiki, but I do think there is this thing that Kiki might have gotten in too deep and shouldn't have been talking about this stuff in the first place. I mean, she was saying she went out to these reporters so they could try to get access to the hospital report with Gretchen. And I don't know, like I hear a lot of shit. Like I've heard a lot of shit over the years, and I know usually when to keep my mouth shut, and usually if I even heard that rumor, I think I would have been like, oh, okay. But I don't think I would have been curious enough to try to find some hospital report. I would have been like, well, if it's out there, hopefully we'll see it on the show. I don't think I would be because in that, like, what are we? What are we doing? I'm confused. I'm still very confused, guys. Okay, moving on. Okay, now we're moving away from OC. We're going into a little Sister Wives for a second. Blair Moreland says, I thought I couldn't dislike Cody and Robin more, but here we are. I have a new appreciation for Mary, Janelle, and Christine. Because I think this was in regards to, I think she said she was going back and watching earlier seasons of Sister Wives. You know, it's so funny. Rebecca watches Sister Wives, and she watched it even before I came into the picture. And I turned on season 1, episode 1, and she was like, no, don't do this. Don't do this. So I didn't. But yeah, I'm really, you know, I dislike Cody with a passion. And at the same time, I say that makes me excited to watch him on Special Forces on Fox in a couple weeks, right? And that's very interesting, right? When you dislike a character so much that you're willing to watch them on another show because you're hoping they get embarrassed. But I have an appreciation for all of those ladies that stayed in this series, this life. In fact, Christine's publisher, I did a video about this. They sent me Christine's book that just came out, Sister Wife, a memoir of faith, family, and finding freedom. Oh my God, Christine followed me today. And I got to tell you, I have this little journal that I keep like little wins in, or like things that happen. And I already wrote, Christine followed me. Like it's a very small thing, but for me, I was very proud of that. I was like, oh, nice. Because I really am a fan of Christine. And I'm excited to read this book. I was supposed to interview Christine, and I was really bummed it didn't end up happening. It did not happen. So if anybody's in Christine DMs, you need to tell her to come on So Bad It's Good. This was not through Christine though; it was through her publisher. Her publisher reached out to me initially, and I was like, "Fuck yes!" And then it just didn't work out. I always wonder what happens in those situations. My paranoid thought is, oh, they listen to the show and they think I'm horrific. But I think I would do a damn good interview with Christine. So I was really bummed. But the great thing about doing a show and planning on doing this show forever is that eventually I will talk to Christine. But I'm really excited to check out this book. I think Sister Wives is a very interesting reality show. And a lot of times it's not entertaining. And that's part of what makes Sister Wives entertaining is that you're just already, the concept is so batshit crazy that then the mundaneness of their lives at certain seasons would be fascinating to watch. I think, sometimes a reality show being mundane and at times boring it can be it can be used to great effect. When the drama really pops off, it's real then, right? Taylor Wallace says, there are hundreds of episodes. I would recommend going on the subreddit and searching for best episodes, and you'll find posts from people who are starting from the beginning but don't have 3 years to catch up on 20 seasons. So the guys, I'm not joking about Reddit. I don't really go around on there. Like subreddit, what is that? Is that like a Reddit beat? Like, is there two different Reddits, or there's Reddit? Is subreddit like a spin-off site of Reddit, or what does that mean? But so you're saying I could go in there and search best episode Sister Wives. That's a great idea. There are 20 seasons of Sister Wives, and they're starting a new season. That's coming up pretty soon. So God, best episodes. That is daunting. I should really do that. But can somebody let me know what a subreddit of Reddit is? Does that just mean a topic on Reddit is a subreddit? Is that what that? I just don't want it to become like TikTok where then I get addicted to Reddit. I'm really trying to watch my addictions. I really am trying to watch my addictions. Oh, wait, you guys, I pulled Rebecca in. She's off camera right now, but Rebecca, what are you allowing me to do for the wedding?
Well, like, what are you talking about? Like what?
Well, like, what would you
Give me
want?
an example.
What would you want me to like? What would you allow me to like? You wouldn't allow me to do the whole thing.
What do you mean the whole thing?
Like plan the whole thing.
Oh no, but like, what is like your idea? That like a crazy idea you have?
I don't have a crazy idea. They were asking what you are allowing me to do on the wedding.
Do something fun.
Yeah, but I was saying we haven't really gone
No.
into wedding planning, so.
Right.
I said, there could be, listen, we could get married at a courthouse and do a huge party, or we could do a big wedding and the whole thing.
I remember you said Cynthia Bailey could marry us.
Cynthia Bailey did offer to marry
I would
us.
allow that for sure.
Cynthia Bailey did offer to officiate. Yeah.
I'm down for that.
I don't think I would be down for Cynthia Bailey that would be too weird.
I'm down for Cynthia, or Jeff could officiate.
Jeff already said no. Jeff already said no. Jeff already said no.
But I'm down for anything.
Patrick and Pohl could do it.
No, see,
No,
can't do
yeah.
that.
Okay.
Yeah. And they can't like do the dress or anything.
Wow, you're not
They
even
have like the Sheena two-piece.
the Sheena two-piece.
Whatever, what was it called? Like
I don't know if you guys can hear her, but she said then I would have the Sheena two-piece because Patrick and Pohl did Sheena's wedding dress.
For Sheena Shea.
For Sheena Shea, yeah.
Yeah.
What other Sheena?
Well, I meant.
Oh, you mean Mike Shea's?
Mike Shea. For Sheena
They did the
Shea.
first wedding dress.
Yeah.
But didn't they do the second wedding dress too? Because they were there at the wedding for the second wedding.
I don't know.
Yeah, because
they
they did. Yeah. Okay, well, now I have to let Pohl know that he can't design your wedding. You have a real beef with Patrick and Pohl, so it's interesting.
Don't tell them.
Don't tell
guys,
them. Yeah,
please.
yeah. Okay, cool. You're done. Bye. Say bye. Hopefully you were able to hear Rebecca's voice because she wasn't on the mic. She was like to the side of me. So hopefully you could hear that. If not, Taylor Wallace, moving on to music. Taylor Wallace says, one LCD sound system fan to another. When Jeff Lewis says, I heard to a guest, do you ever start hearing Losing My Edge in your head? Oh man, I love this question so much. And it only is going to make sense to a couple of us. So I'm a huge LCD Sound System fan, one of my favorite bands of all time. They have this great song called Losing My Edge that really that takes you through the history of music, through kind of music snobbery of like, I heard you have every Beach Boys track from the Modern Lovers tracks, and it's like, I heard you have two synthesizers and an archipelago. I know it's an amazing song, and it also has this awesome groove, and I always just like dance out to this song. But Jeff Lewis, this is such a great comment because once I read this, I was like, yeah, he really does do this. He'll do this with guests. Well, he'll be like, I heard this weekend that you had, he'll start with like, I heard, and it's, that's a great observation, but they say that on Losing My Edge, James Murphy, the lead singer, like, I heard you did this and this. And it's such I love this comment so much, but Losing My Edge is one of my favorite songs. It's so funny. I would love to do a version of Losing My Edge in regards to Bravo bloggers of like, I heard, I heard you had information about Naked Wasted dating back from season 4, episode 17. Dun, 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 dun. Dun, 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 dun. I heard you have 2 hats from Kimo Sabi and 1 Kyle Richards. Signed. Dun, 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 dun. That's a very specific question you asked. I love it. Katie says, do we think Taylor Swift is going to write her wedding? Oh my God. Another person, this fucking Spotify comments, because I called Taylor Swift a capitalist and Travis Kelce as well. And, guys, it's like, it's so easy to be mad at things, but like, yes, I know Taylor does so much for charity. I love Taylor Swift so dearly, but there is like, come on, if you are that big of a business, there is a form of late stage capitalism that you are participating in. And yes, like she is doing amazing things with her money, but that's still like, I mean, people just want to get upset. Like, if you are making $1 billion, you are participating in a form of capitalism. You just are. That is, it doesn't mean that has to be a bad thing, but it is. I'm sorry. I will fight to the death that is, I'm sorry. Releasing like 9 different variants of a vinyl, that's a very specific choice. It's a very specific choice. Anyways, do we think Taylor Swift is going to write her wedding song, or will she choose another artist as her wedding song? Katie, I love it. I have not even gone down this rabbit hole in my head yet. Holy shit. And I would bet anything that Taylor Swift has thought about this for a decade at least, about perfect wedding songs. And now it's going to be, it has to be with Travis as well. So it'll be, I think she's going to write a song about her wedding, but I don't think it's going to be her wedding song. But my God, I am so interested now to think about this. Like, could she go alternative? I mean, could she do a national song or a Radiohead song, or would she go? I mean, there are so many. My God, to be the DJ that plays Taylor Swift's wedding, and I bet she's one of those people that would really go over the tracks with the DJ. You got to play this. You got to play this. You got to play this. My God, Katie? What do you think it would be? But I think she'll choose another artist, point blank, period. And that other artist is going to have the sales of the year. Like, honestly, when that happens, their streaming numbers are going to explode. In fact, I think it was the band Foreigner that sings the song, I want to know what love is. I want you to show me. I want to feel. Remember that song from the 80s? They said, because I think Travis and Taylor liked that song, and they said that they would play their wedding. I thought that was so funny. And fun fact about that song, I shit you not, the first time I was an extra in a Vanderpump Rules scene, it's like, 2017 or something, maybe. I was there with a couple of friends, and I went to the bathroom, and I shit you not, Jax Taylor was walking by me, and he was singing under his breath, I want to know what love is. I want you to show me. Guys, I am not making this up at all. In fact, I was on a podcast at the time where I'd said it because it was so specific and it was so wild. We know Jax loves 80s things, but I was like, this is what a perfect Jax Taylor moment of him singing Foreigner under his breath. Truly, what an amazing moment. Mazer Reed. What up, Mazer Reed? How good was that Oasis show? As a lifelong fan, it was close to peak Oasis for me. Yeah. I mean, if you, I wasn't able to really go into it as much as I would have loved to have made a whole episode about that concert. I thought it was fantastic. I keep thinking about it. I was texting with Nick today, my buddy I went with, and it was just magical. I just thought it was very cool. And I was so, I mean, there's a nostalgia factor, right? It keys us into a certain point in our life that you think back and you get to explore those memories that you had with all those songs. But even taking all that away, they sounded fucking phenomenal. Fantastic. They sounded, I mean, it was a wall of sound. I mean, I've been to a lot of concerts in my day. My ears hurt. Like it was like the first time where I was like, oh, I should bring those earplugs to like help my ears out because my ears were ringing. And I mean that complimentary. And they just were, their backing band was so good. Joey Waronker on the drums, even though he did miss a little bit of the drum fill on Don't Look Back in Anger, he was like off one hair at one moment I noticed, and I was like, holy shit, but they sounded so good. And the sound mixing for a stadium is so hard, I would imagine. And they even had a horn section for a couple songs and the piano. And they blended all of those sounds so beautifully in the Rose Bowl Stadium, which is just a hard feat. And I was just, it was a real wall of sound. And I love the night I was when Paul McCartney was there. And you know, those brothers love the Beatles, really love. In fact, they sing a little bit of Octopus's Garden from the Beatles song. And in an octopus's garden. And I love that. And that was like a little nod. And I love that Paul McCartney heard that. And I wonder if they do that Octopus's Garden in every show or if that was just because Paul was there, but they went out there and they did their job, man. Cause you know, a lot of people have said, or this is just, it could be a cash grab tour, you know, because they had been broken up since 2009. And that's one thing. We've seen a lot of cash grab tours. But they really were good. I mean, they were good. And part of me was saying like, man, I wish. It's not going to happen, but I'm hearing that they're going to tour in 2026 again. And I wish they would like headline Coachella. I don't think they will, but I wish that because Paul Tollett, the guy who programs Coachella, I wish that because I just wish we would bring rock a little bit more to the forefront and encourage more people to start rock bands and to promote rock music again, because I feel like we have all of this other type of music. And I don't want rock to die. I want a resurgence in rock and roll. And even when I say rock and roll, it feels a little silly coming out of my mouth, but I want guitars. I grew up in a time where alternative music was so championed and at Coachella's especially, you know, it was such a great time for that sort of music, and it really has phased out in so many ways. And so Oasis was just a good old fashioned rock show. And I loved it. So damn good. I would love to see it again. I hope I get the opportunity, but I'm so happy that I got to see it one time. Like I've seen both of those brothers solo. Like they have the Flying Birds. Like they have two separate bands, and they were fine. They were fine, but together, that's hard, right? Together, even though these brothers didn't get along, they created something so magical that it never was as magical solo. And that's not to shit on them as solo artists, but I love that they found a way to make it work. Now, at the end of the day, I put that in this kind of emotional territory, but yeah, they're getting tens and tens of millions of dollars to do this. So they're getting paid very well to do this. But a lot of times, you know, you would still say they wouldn't be able to get through it. I thought the tour would have gone bust by now. Like, you know, they would have gotten into fights and just called it all off. So I'm just so thrilled that they're managing to do the whole tour, right? So yeah, Mazer is so amazing. And so many people went to it, man. I'm getting people still in my comments saying, I was there. And everybody just had such a damn good time. And that's what it's all about, man. It's all about having that good time. Oh, and you know what? So man, back in the day when I used to go to concerts a lot more, I would film so much during the concert. I only have like 4 clips on my phone, I think. And I posted those 4 clips. But I didn't take any other video or pictures. I was really that into it that I was not burdened by having to take cell phone video. I just did it for those like big moments. And even then I would take like 30 seconds of the song and put my phone away because I was just really into that moment. I was really into that. I really appreciate that about myself. Okay. McBee Dynasty. Sandra says, can we get recaps from the McBee Dynasty from the beginning with or without guests? Yeah, I mean, I talked about this at the very beginning. Katie says she would love McBee recaps. Jen says, yes, please to the McBee recaps. Think of the accent. Yeah, I do love the accents. Galena is a great accent. And the lady, the kind of den mother of like, these boys are crazy. I love them. They're my family, and I'm going to give them a good spanking. Yeah, I mean, it would be great vocally. Yeah, yeah. I mean, I want to say yes. I don't know. I mean, what guest here? What guest should we bring on for McBee Dynasty recaps? Because we could do some solo, but it would also be fun to do it with people as well. Um, because also Cole always uses this word where sometimes his bottom lip goes further than his teeth, and he kind of just stutters over things. I love it. I love it. I love it. So yeah, you guys are nearing me towards that. But I know, yeah, I want to say yes. I want to say yes. Colleen says, hey, Big Baddie, thanks for recommending the mom catfish story, though your episode was a bit of a spoiler. Colleen, it wasn't even a bit of a spoiler. It was a spoiler. That's why I tried to say as loud and as many times as possible, this is a spoiler. And I wrote that in the show notes. So I really hate spoiling things for people. And that's why I try to give as many warnings as possible. My question, why is no one saying the McBees should not be renewed because the dad committed a crime and the family showed no remorse or even said that was bad? In the last episode, one brother said, you made one mistake and no one will let it go. They are rich or prenups would not be a focus, but to save the farm, they lied to get agricultural support from tax dollars. Inquiring minds want to know. Well, I think your question also provides the answer in a sense, is that I do think, and think about like Jen Shaw, think about Erica Jane to a degree, is that these reality shows sometimes will force them to be honest about things. Yes, they said it was one big mistake. So if they did a third season, they would have to go deeper into that. And so I think in some ways, and they're going to have to deal with a lot of pain. They potentially could lose that farm. And I think that would be fascinating to see. So you're almost investing not in the downfall of this family, but actually seeing the reality of what happens when you get lost in the sauce, when you actually do steal money. Like what will happen? That to me is interesting. And instead of completely ignoring, it might be interesting to see how that all plays out. That's the thought in my head, but I totally understand your point. I mean, I really, really, really understand your point. But if we were to not focus on criminals, think about it. The Mom Catfish documentary wouldn't exist. We also wouldn't have, it's a loose brain fart on the Patreon. We wouldn't have the Jen Shaw storyline. We wouldn't have the Erica Jane storyline. We wouldn't have Jax Taylor in some ways. There are so many things. If we, I don't think reality shows usually focus on perfect people. They focus on sometimes the darker side of all of these things. And so sometimes I say you're investing in these things because you're about to see a whole world of hurt. And I don't want to sound heartless when I say that, but to me, you would have to face these issues. And also, Colleen, I think it's great because I love that you're a discerning viewer that realizes, like, what are you fucking talking about? You're rich. You're talking about prenups. You're talking about one big, like, you realize there's a layer of bullshit to it, right? Now, the part that scares me in my mind, right, is that there's a lot of people that don't realize it's bullshit. There's a lot of people that don't realize it's bullshit. And those people might just be taking this as fact. That scares me as well. But I tend to think this could be potentially fascinating. So we'll see. Like even the first season storyline that they have some big wig IPO investors willing to pump in, what was it, like over $100 million? I was like, is this a fake storyline or is this true? Like even that, like there's a layer of like, I was even questioning certain number figures and Galena. Like there's still so many things that I'm still curious about. But when I'm curious about something, that usually gives me my spidey sense to like, we could be onto something here. We could really be onto something, right? So Colleen, those are my thoughts, but I totally get where you're coming from. Lori, what up, Lori? Why do you think Jesse and Ally McBee didn't say they were pregnant on the show? This is a great question. So, Jesse and Ally, like if you just did a light Google search, when I interviewed Stephen McBee Jr., I already knew that they had a baby. So part of me thinks they didn't play it because I think they thought maybe they were going to get an immediate season 3 and that would be in season 3. maybe they thought because Cole, they were already having a pregnancy. There's a lot of things. I don't know, but obviously they knew they were pregnant at that wedding. She was pregnant at that wedding. So I don't know, Lori. I'm so curious, and I wasn't allowed to ask that of Stephen McBee Jr. And part of me wants to DM him and ask him, and maybe I will. Maybe I will. We're cowboy buds now. We're cowboy buds. But yeah, it was one of those interesting things because and also the People magazine article about their wedding happened before their wedding. So even the storyline of is Jesse going to get married to Allie? We already knew they got married. Like that's the thing. Sometimes with reality shows, you already know the outcome if you actually just do a light Google search. But I don't know. What do you think, Lori? Also, not a question, but my God, I love your Britney impression. Shot, 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 shot. I want to do Tom's, shot, 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 shot. I'm Britney. I'm doing shot, shot, shot. Oh my God, I talked to somebody, or maybe was this Sophie the other? Who was it that I talked to where I was scared that we've now, as a community of Bravo viewers, have said shot, shot, shots too much about Britney. That maybe she's not going to do shots this season, and that really bums me out. Like, what if Brittany's like, I'm not going to partake in shots. I'm not going to, my GERD and my stomach, I'm not going to partake. No shots, 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 shots. I'm going to have a dots. I'm going to Diet Coke. I'm going to Diet Coke. Oh my God. I'm like 3 weeks outside of the Valley, and I think I'm forgetting how to do Brittany's voice. It's not even Brittany's voice. It's my horrible imitation of Brittany's voice, but I'm forgetting how to do it. Shot, 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 dum, 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 dum. Note from Sandra. He said, oh, wait, we got a note from Sandra because Sandra knows all things McBee. He said in an interview that he already had so much spotlight on him with the wedding and he didn't want to take away Cole and Casey's joy. Okay, so yeah, I was maybe onto something with the Cole thing. And remember, Jesse is like the shy one too. I'm kind of the shy one. I'm the shy one of this family. He did seem very stressed out. So, okay, we got a little, thank you, Sandra, for that note. Linda Marie. Linda, if you had to spend 2 hours... If you had to spend 2 hours in an elevator with someone from McBee Dynasty, who would you pick? Part of me wants to say Galina, just so I could get her to say things like Russian things of like, you thick-thighed whore, Ryan, you're in this elevator with me, Galina. I think Steven Jr. is a good person to kind of lead this show because he's that guy that's like he seems friendly to everybody. So Stephen McBee obviously is an easy guy to shoot the shit with. I would also get along with Steven's mother in an elevator very well. That's another person who has aspects of my mom, very different than Shannon Bedore, but aspects of my mom. She seems like a real go-getter, like, and really cracks a whip in a good way. Cole, I think I would be scared to be in an elevator with. He seems a little too bro-y for me, and I think he would just be like, who's this weirdo? You guys are really weird. I don't know. I could be, I think that's, I don't want to fetishize cowboy life and farm life because obviously farmers go through hell. I mean, like a lot of us go through hell, but there is this aspect of it brings you back to childhood. And I remember dressing up as the Lone Ranger as a kid. I took horse riding lessons when I was in Kansas when I was a kid. I remember we would drive out to this guy's farm. God, I forgot about that. Because my sister had a real thing with horses, and she would get like the horse magazine, if I'm not mistaken. This was around junior high. And I knew how to canter and put the saddle on and stuff. That was always really exciting. Yeah, why don't we go with Steven or Galina? If I'm feeling Randy, Galina. If I'm feeling brave, Galina. But if I just want to shoot the shit, I think Steven would be a fun person to be in an elevator with. He's. Anyways, thank you, Linda, for potentially. Now I'll be thinking about that all night, and it'll be in my nightmares. Okay, some Netflix's Unknown Number questions. Stacy Porter Brown. Hey, Stacy, have you seen that Chloe from Unknown Number started a TikTok to tell her side as a victim, and it is not going her way? Yes. Guys, I'm so bad at this. I always forgot where I said things because I think I did talk about this on some podcast. I think it was mine. But yeah, she went on TikTok and was like, I'm going to tell you some things. And she got ate up a little bit in the comments. And I was like, girl, all these kids and teenagers, it's like, like take your victory with this wasn't you sending these text messages, but don't take a victory lap. Like there were still elements where it did come off as Chloe, and I'm an older man talking about a young girl in high school, and that's not super cool, but it did appear that there were bully elements to her. And if talking the talking heads with her family, also they're the mom, you could see where Chloe could potentially get that, right? So yeah, I did see that. I think you can find her on TikTok. I don't think she's taken her account down, but that's the thing, man. You get a number one show on Netflix. A lot of people are curious, and you ride that wave of fame. It's really interesting. There was a quote today that I posted that I read that I found so fascinating. I had never heard this quote before, and I loved it. Oh yeah, celebrity is a. It just disappeared. I hate when social media will do that. Celebrity is a mask that eats into the face. It's a John Updike, the author John Updike, a quote. Celebrity is a mask that eats into the face. And I thought that was a brilliant quote, right? Because it's like celebrity, being loved and adored and all this adulation, that is a mask, because celebrity isn't normal. And then eventually you can tell celebrity really changes people. It eats into that face. It changes who you are at a fundamental level, it seems like. You see that with a lot of reality stars, right? Like, Tom Sandoval talking about his life as a reality show, or even Sheena. They think about their lives in different ways than just a normal person would. And that doesn't seem like freedom to me, right? Jen says, "Oh my God, just look, that's crazy." So Jen looked at Chloe, so she saw it. Stacy then said, "Yes, I know she's a child, but watching those interviews, she's definitely her mother's child. And I think we all had a Chloe in our childhood. The best comments I saw were, quote, 'We know you threw those carrots.'" My God. Oh my God. See, that's the thing, is you have to realize these are kids. It's like, that's the other thing that I felt watching this season of Love Island USA, where I'm like, these are like babies. They're like 22 and 23-year-olds. And I'm sitting that, it's like, it's hard to take it serious in some way. And I'm like, it's hard to even be cutting when you're like, oh God, these people they haven't lived tons of life yet. So I hope Chloe can survive this initial taste of documentary Netflix fame. We speak your name, Chloe. Leslie says, "Still thinking about unknown number from Netflix. Kendra, the mom, was a psycho." Hell yeah, she was. Who's walking away from that going, you know what, Kendra? I like the cut of that girl's jib. I like the cut of that lady's jib. I like how she handles business. Do you think her daughter should cease all contact with her? And do you think Kendra developed an obsession with Owen? Yes and yes. Yes, a huge yes. The daughter should cut all fucking contact. I was trying to rationalize it to myself. And then I kept coming up snake eyes where I was like, you shouldn't rationalize. This is insane. And I get that you can get caught up in things. I understand that. But sometimes you can get caught up in things where you will have real life consequences that you should not be able to have a relationship with your daughter. You're sorry, you made a life altering mistake. And I don't mean for her, for your daughter. For your daughter. And yes. And in fact, it should be voluntary of like, I'm going to stay away from you. I'm going to give you every ounce of time to heal and not try to like send like little pigeons your way to be like, I miss you. I'm mad at you that you're not calling me. Like, girl, let that girl grow up. And I don't know how much these people, if they got paid at all, but if they did, I hope it was payment in therapy for the daughter. And I think, yeah, Kendra had to have developed an obsession with Owen. We went through that cut article where it did seem like even more detail in having an obsession with Owen. And I don't know if that was transference, if she always had that obsession with Owen, or she grew to have that obsession with Owen when she started doing all of this stuff, but it was fucking weird. The lady's a fucking weird lady. And I do believe in forgiveness, but I don't necessarily, if I believe in forgiveness, that the daughter should have for the mother, if that makes sense. I am curious, though. We are curious about these things of, who's seen Kendra since? Has anybody seen Kendra in the last couple of weeks? Has she posted anything? Does she have a secret Instagram account? Like, where does this go from here? Okay, Christina Byington. Okay, can you discuss stalking Samantha? I was bowled over by it, just blown away. Did you watch the Yogurt Shop series? I can't decide how I feel about that one. I'm way too close. The last episode featured the cold case detective who was supposedly working on Anita's case. Now, Christina, one of her family members, was unalived years and years and years and years ago, and Christina's been fighting the good fight to bring justice to Anita's killer. And Christina Byington, if you're curious, she has done podcasts, other people's podcasts about that case. I have not. I watched the first episode of Yogurt Shop Murders on HBO Max, and the flow of it was very slow. And Rebecca wasn't into it, and it's really hard for Rebecca. Like you gotta find those shows that you can watch together, and sometimes I'll have to watch. It's like you gotta pick your battles. So Yogurt Shop series is still on my list. I just have not finished the other episodes. But what Christina is asking about, you guys, is Stalking Samantha. It is on Hulu. It was an ABC News. It's a 3-part docuseries about this lady, Samantha. And she had this stalker that she initially, I believe, met in college. And, we see pictures of this guy. He was like chubby, pale, real goofy guy. And he, kind of wanted to have a relationship with Samantha, and Samantha was nice, but she wasn't into it. And this guy just continually messaged her and said things like, "Oh my God, God gave me a message and I just need to talk to you." And really was creepy, but not anything she didn't think she could handle. And she, I think, moved somewhere. And then this was all these years later, this guy shows up, but he's like lost all this weight. He looks different, but still a very weird dude. And she started getting freaked out. Like he would just show up at places she was at. She was like this bar getting drinks. He was just there all of a sudden. Like how did he know where all these places she would be at? And it was just getting really scary and creepy. And the docuseries goes into this way more than I can get into it. But I just want to say it's really well done. It really paints this story over 3 episodes, and it was really gripping. It's a no-frills docuseries. This is another one that wasn't sensationalized because the story is sensational in itself. And the bravery of Samantha, who participates in this fully. But basically what ends up happening is that this guy becomes so obsessed with her that he rents a rental, like a storage facility, and he builds a room. Like he got inspiration from that TV show You, with the glass cage that he would put his victims in. And even he said, "Oh, the glass cage, that's not actually possible. I looked into it." But he built this room within the storage facility, and he padded it so it was like soundproof, put a bed in there, put all this stuff in there, and kidnapped her and put her in there. And I don't want to give away too much from that point on, but it is harrowing. The bravery of Samantha. I mean, you talk about somebody that has built up a relationship in their mind that didn't exist. And then you also find out that he was planting bugs on not only her car, but her friends' cars. So he was like, it was a full-time job, just stalking her and he had a good job. He had an MBA. He had a well-paying job. I mean, it's a really insane story. I don't think it's getting nearly enough attention. And you know what, Sandra, if you're listening to this still at this point, we should look into seeing if they would still be willing to do an interview about this, even though it's been out for over a month. But I thought it was really gripping, and maybe check it out. I mean, like Christina, you seem to have been really into it. It was something that I started the first episode, and then I ended up going, okay, I'm going to watch the whole thing tonight. I had to know how it ended. So that's called Stalking Samantha on Hulu. Sarah says, "Hey, love listening. Always a bright spot in my day." Thank you, Sarah. And your personal anecdotes, and opinions, especially about mental health, I find to be very helpful. But anyways, I was just wondering if you'd ever do recaps of early Roni. Oh, shit. Christina Byington said she seconds this. Guys, I wish I could do recaps of every Bravo show ever. We just got asked to do the McBee Dynasty. But yeah, I mean, I would love, see, I'm just... Can somebody just organize my life and just tell me what to do when? But yeah, I would love to. Oh my God, to talk about those ladies and those early episodes. Yeah, I mean, maybe, what do we do, you guys? Do we do McBee? Do we do Roni? I mean, these are all great suggestions that I wish I could do. I mean, talking about Countess Luann, are you kidding me? I always want to talk about Countess Luann. Money can't buy you class. Money can't buy elegance is learned. Oh, yeah. Anyways, okay. Yeah, Sarah, I want it. Yeah, Sarah, we should. Have we ever done any Roni on here? I'm trying to think. Like, I remember the last couple seasons when Leah jumped on, we were doing Roni recaps, and we did the new Roni the first season on here, I believe. But yeah, that is something to think about. Yeah. Anyways, Bravo. Jenny says, hello, can you talk about 6 Degrees of Sheena Shea in the Bravo sphere? Sure. It's just that Sheena Shea seems to be connected with everybody, whether it be on purpose or just purely accidental. Is that like so? Gretchen Rossi was at Sheena's initial wedding to Mike Shea. They've been friends for a very long time, so she collected that friendship, which is a real friendship to Sheena. I knew that friendship even before Gretchen got back on OC. Sheena also is really good friends with Jesse from Secret Lives of Mormon Wives. She manages to have, and I don't think she's doing this on purpose, but she manages to cast a wide net of people out there, not only in the Bravo sphere, but in other shows. So it is interesting, though, when all of a sudden her name gets brought up in regards to OC. Sheena's got a story for it. Like Sheena, and like Sheena has a little bit of a podcast war with Nick Vile, or she did back in the day. I think she even made some merch about it a couple years ago, maybe, or last year. Who knows? And she's always had. I mean, I think she's had some words with Tamara in the past. I don't know. It's very interesting. It's very interesting to see where Sheena's planted roots, and you can see the fruits of her labor. Even though I'm joking and saying labor, I don't think it's real. She's got a very big black book. Sheena's black book is very, very deep, and it goes. She's collected a lot of friendships through the years, and cultivated a lot of friendships. And I think it's interesting because you see that play out now, and where Sheena's name does get brought up in all of these things. And I remember a time when they wouldn't even promote her podcast on Vanderpump Rules, and for them to use the Shenanigans logo on OC. That's a huge moment for Sheena from going from an Alex Baskin show that didn't really want to promote her podcast to actually promoting her podcast. That's huge. And it wasn't even on Vanderpump Rules. It was on OC. So I think, there is a connection with everybody on Bravo through Sheena. Sheena's met every one of them. Captain Jason, she's got a story for it. Like, she has a story with each and every one of those ladies. And so that's a little bit about what I mean. But we should do maybe a whole episode about how everything connects, because I believe didn't Sheena have words with Alexis Bellino at BravoCon, last BravoCon, because Alexis Bellino had said something derogatory about Gretchen and Sheena stood up for Gretchen? I think that was on Carlos King's podcast, if I'm not mistaken. I want to give proper credit, but I believe I heard that story recently as well. Allison said, I would love to see a reboot of old Roni, including Ramona. Thoughts? P.S. Love your show. Allison, I love you. Yeah, I think I think that is becoming more of a reality. And they're posting a lot more together, and it's getting a lot more of a reaction. So I always say we didn't show up for them when Ultimate Girls Trip season aired, right? We didn't show up and watch that show, but that was a couple years ago. So maybe the tides have turned. You always got to wait for the right place, right time. So that now could be the time. Now could be the time. So I think that will become a reality. I think we're at least a year away from that. But yeah. And by the way, I would be down for it. I did a video the other day, but my Life on the Ramona Coaster, Ramona Singer's book, just came from Amazon. I did an unboxing video. Going to check out Ramona's book from like a decade ago and see how that reads. But yeah, I would be down. I would see it. I mean, it's hard, right? The climate that we're in a lot of ways. If, it would be interesting to see. I would be interested in like a 4-episode order just to test the waters to see, do we got stuff to talk about? What would be the drama? What would be it? Would it just be fun, goofy shit? I want to know how Ramona's bowels are doing, because she used to like just poop everywhere. Remember, by the end, Sonia would be like, oh my God, Ramona, did you poop in this bathroom on the floor? Like, they were just silly behavior. Like, if it was a show about behavior, but if it's a show about their thoughts on politics, I don't think I would be too down for that. But I don't think it ever really has been about that until like later seasons of Roni. So yeah, I mean, I think I would be up for that. I think I would be. What do you guys think? Is that a mistake? You don't want to open Pandora's box, or like, Jax Taylor going back on the Valley. It didn't turn out to be great for him. So is this something that we say we want, but it's in the end not going to be good for them overall? Who knows? But yeah, I think I think that is becoming more of a reality, truly. Michelle says also, I have always something about a question regarding Brandy. She always used her sexuality as power, and she has the right to, but then to complain about it now and act like she is being exploited is confusing. She's talking about Brandy Glanville here, you guys. And I've mentioned this before, and I always want to tap dance lightly around this, but you can't play smart and dumb at the same time. Is that Brandy leaned into her sexuality, which I'm all for, man. You want to use your sexuality, use it. That's your power, man. Great. But then all this time later to now say, to say this was exploited, is that sometimes exploitation, it takes two to exploit. It takes two to tango. And you do know what you signed up for. Now, I have so much empathy and sympathy for Brandy and what she's obviously going through. But that's why I always try to say, just because you're on a Bravo show doesn't mean Bravo, and this sounds cruel, doesn't mean Bravo needs to take care of you for the rest of your life. If you listen to this show, I say time and time again, that's why I want them to have some sort of career. I mean, one of my things, like, at least I don't have to ever worry about Heather Dubrow and money. I don't have to worry about that. But Brandy makes, like, she's doing press tours about how bad she has it right now. And, do we need to do a telethon for Brandy? Like, I want her to be okay, but, like, are we just supposed to give you millions of dollars to, like, what is the responsibility? And just because life has not gone the way that you want it to have gone for yourself, it seems that Bravo is an easy person to blame. And now it's that double-edged sword, right? Bravo provided so much money for Brandy at one point. It provided her the opportunity to have 2 best-selling books, to have a podcast that was successful in the beginning, right? It provided all of these things. But then the flip side of that is where we're at now with Brandy. And it's a tough road, but that's why it's like, I made a joke post last week of like, man, I want a show where we just teach Bravo celebrities careers. Like teach them how to do IT or not podcasting, but like IT or, put them on McBee's farm, let them work the land. But I get a little frustrated about that because you played into that stereotype. So either you're telling me, is that stereotype something that was completely fake and fabricated and that's not you at all and Bravo pushed you into that? Or is the truth always lies somewhere in between? But it really makes me sad. And I want the best for Brandy. I want her to be, I don't know. But that's why we always say, all that glitters is not gold. Jen, oh God, Jen. Mary Shag Kill, Nene, Vicky, Ramona. Nene, Vicky, Ramona. Mary Shag Kill, Nene, Vicky, Ramona. Oh God, Jen, what are you doing here? Mary Shag Kill. Fudge, you guys, come on. Fudge, guys, I think, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I think I have to kill Ramona. I'm sorry, Ramona. I'm sorry. I hope you understand. So I might have to off Ramona. Guys. I was going to say maybe marry Vicky because I know she would help with financial planning because she does that with Kodo Insurance. And then I could shag Nene. But also, it would be fun to marry Nene because I think Nene would make me laugh so much, and laughter is so important in relationships. And I don't know if Vicky would laugh. And also, but if I shagged Vicky, there, like at some point, if she screamed out, "You just filled up my love tank," I think that would be very weird. How dare you, Jen, for this question? You also said same question with PK, Slade, and Schwartz. Fuck off, Jen. PK, will you marry, shag, or kill me? Once again, I think I got to marry Schwartz because I think I would laugh a lot with Schwartz. God, what is, this is insane. The fact that I'm even taking this seriously. I think I would marry Schwartz. Oh, I hate you so much. I've never had sex with a man. I got to kill myself. And then we're done. I don't know how to answer that. I mean, I'm not attracted to men in that way. So I would I guess Slade is better looking than PK, but I don't think I always go by like looks in terms of sex. So, but I don't love PK's personality. Why am I talking through this? Guys, we're just going to have to leave that unanswered. But I'll marry Schwartz. Okay. You got that out of me. Random. Sandra Duran says, "What up, Sandra? I saw Adam Sandler live last night." Oh, I saw Adam Sandler last night and it was awesome. Him, Kevin James, Vanilla Ice, and Ninja. Wow. Okay. Well, that got weird all of a sudden. Kevin James, Vanilla Ice, and a Ninja Turtle performed Ice Ice Baby. Ice Ice Baby. Now stop, collaborate, and listen. Ice is back with a brand new invention. Something grabbed a hold of me. The Sandman was so good. Oh, I love Adam Sandler. I love Adam Sandler. Vanilla Ice, man, that would be a fun song to hear performed live. That was such a gigantic hit. And a Ninja Turtle. Now, if you remember Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2, that was released in the 90s, I believe. Vanilla Ice did the song for the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles sequel movie. It was called The Revenge of the Ooze, if I'm not mistaken. So congrats, Sandra. That sounds like a blast. Christina says, would you turn on me if I told you that Philly's lady is my aunt? Christina? Okay, so did you guys see over the weekend the lady that stole that lady? There was a ball at a Phillies game, like a homer got hit or a foul ball. The ball fell. This guy rushed over and grabbed it from the floor, but this lady thought that was deserved to be her ball. The dad went over and gave it to his son, and then the lady came up and demanded the ball. And she made herself look pretty insane. And there's a lot of memes out there. Christina, are you shitting me, or is that really your aunt? Christina, you got it. You got to tell me. We're 2 hours into this thing, but I don't even know if you're going to. Christina, let me know if you're. I'm not going to turn on you. You can't help who you're related with, but my God, I would love to know more of that story because guess what? Then the Phillies saw that they let the kid come down, meet his favorite player. He signed a bat for him. They gave him a bunch of merchandise, and then somebody, some RV, a big RV honcho, gave the family a new RV. So the family that this kid got his ball stolen from on his birthday ended up getting so much in return. But also that's just a good guys, be careful at baseball. Like, don't be assholes out there. You know, I don't know. It's really tough because I saw that. I'm like, oh, the internet's going to have a field day with this. It is going to ruin this lady's life potentially. But the lady seems pretty indignant. So maybe this just makes her more powerful. Let's see here. We're getting towards the end. Lori says, hi, Ryan. I have to tell you that your show is always the bright spot of my day. Lori, what? Is this my birthday? I laugh out loud at your impersonations, especially Isabella and Brittany. This is Isabella, Dad. I'm filming season 3 of The Valley. Dad, are you ready for me to be a star this season? Your Heather Dubrow reminds me of your... Yeah, by the way, this is Lori. You nailed it. Your Heather Dubrow reminds me of your Jessie Lally voice sometimes. Yeah, because it's the same voice, except sometimes I sometimes I remember that, and I'll go. Can I tell you something? I will go higher on Heather Dubrow once I remembered that, and then Jesse will be like, "I've got to tell you something." So, guys, I've made no secret of this. I can pretty much do, I think, 5 or 6 voices. And none of them are stellar. So my vocal capacity is really limiting, and that's why those 2 voices. Yeah, they do. They definitely, they're the same voice. That's not you being crazy. My question is, have you guys picked out your wedding venue yet? No. I got married 2 years ago, and the entire process was so different from my first wedding in 1986. I wondered if you had experienced any new wedding traditions as you go through this process. Congratulations, best wishes to you and Rebecca on your upcoming wedding. It's still, we don't have a date yet. So, you know, and you might've heard Rebecca earlier, but, I love that. You know, I'm excited for the process when we get to that. There's a lot of things happening right now that I can't wait to tell you about everything. But no wedding venue yet, and I will let you guys know when we do. But we have not even. We just Rebecca's still sick right now. She's been sick for the last week. I was sick for the week before, so we're getting over that. But yeah, oh God, these wedding questions really making me nervous in a good way. Jen says, "Are you actually going to hire Olivia to do photos?" Now, Olivia Marie Plath was on the podcast last week. She's a wedding photographer. We did look at her website, so we might have a meeting with her and see, but I think that would be cool. I mean, it would be great to support Olivia, and I would geek out about that. But at the end of the day, it's not about having like a reality star do it. Like whoever it is, I just wanted them to be beautiful photos that she's happy with, period. Allison, do you and Rebecca have any house plants? Are any of them special to you? Well, we have one. I bought one for Rebecca a while ago. What is it? Like a hanging... I'm so bad at plant names, but I bought that for her when we first, what did I buy that for? But that's still alive and hanging and growing. And that one is special to us. But she has, I'm not, guys, Allison, this is like me with nail polish. I'm not good at flower and plant names. So I'm like, yeah, we got this one green one that's really big. This is a question for Rebecca because they are special to Rebecca. I don't have... My mom one time got me what are the money ones? The little bamboos. Got me a bamboo thing once, and that grew really big, and then all of a sudden it died. And that one meant something to me. But I don't put tons of. I'm not like a Tom Schwartz green thumb kind of guy, but I wish if there's another life, hopefully that life I can be really into plants because I think they look fucking cool. So no, and in fact, these questions I always like, oh man, I should get more into this. I should be more into this. Anyways, you guys, that was the end. 2 hours. We really did it, you guys. This is going to be up on video and audio. You know what I might do? I might put this, because my voice is thrashed after this. I might put this on the main feed as well tomorrow, just to let people know how goofy we get over here on the Patreon with the questions, and maybe get some new patrons. And that way, and then I'll give you something extra this week, because I just realized I still haven't done tomorrow's episode. It was going to be a solo episode, and it's like 10:07 p.m. and I got to be up for Jeff, and I got to release something. So I don't want to. Would you guys be okay with? I hope you guys would be okay. I think I'm going to do that. We haven't done that in like a couple of years, so maybe I'll do that, and hopefully we can get some Patreon subscribers. Not that yeah, I don't know. I love that I love that I'm talking to you guys like I'm expecting an answer. But this has been a blast. This is so much fun. It always is. You guys have the best questions. You make me think about a lot of different things. And I just appreciate you as always. So we got a job to do. We got to find out, are we doing McBee Dynasty? If we do, I'll start on it this week. But I got to give you guys something extra special this week. So we got the rest of the week to do that. So expect another Patreon episode just for you guys. But I'm really lucky to have you guys. I'll talk to you very soon. Bye.